Thank you for watching RGCWV, Random Geek Culture in West Virginia. I'm your host, Luke Hersey, and with me today is Gary Vaughan. Gary Vaughan wrote a couple books. One was the Meth Head in the
There's a
Dryer.
meth head in your dryer?
There's a Meth Head in your dryer, and then the second one, which I didn't read that one.
Stop throwing crack babies at
Stop
me.
throwing crazy at me. I gotta say that those titles are definitely ones that kind of have a shock value to them. They kind of what is this? What is this thing about? I was intrigued when you first messaged me about the book, and I gotta say that the forward that you had in your book was very good because it kind of kind of captured a piece of your personality and what drives you as a person. Talking about your military experience, talking about your extended family life, what you grew up in and everything.
I wanted people to understand that what they were getting into
Yeah,
for the book. That was important to me. And the same with, you said, the shock value of the title. I thought really hard on both those titles. And at a glance, you'll look at those and think, what in the world? But, the subtitle about what the books are about, you get into it and it starts to make a lot of sense.
now, one thing that you didn't dive too much into on the forward was talking about your military service. How did that really, shape your worldview?
I think we could probably talk about that for a long time alone.
Yeah.
But mostly for me, I spent 8 years in the 101st Airborne Infantry. I've been to combat. I've been to the Middle East. I've done some tours. Been all over the world. Mostly structure. Um, you learn in the military, structure is so important, and you get out here in the real world, and it's not so much, and it's local and even on a national level. Problem solving
Yeah.
is a big thing in the military. If there's a problem, someone's in charge. Someone's going to address that problem until it's solved. And if that doesn't solve it, they're going to find somebody that does. And I see it's kind of frustrating, honestly. A lot of jobs I've worked, and even in government, local and national, you see problems that just don't get addressed. And that's the big changeover from military to civilian life.
Right. Okay, so how did your military experience remain with you, that worldview? How did that remain with you as you went more back to civilian life, as it were?
That's a good question. It's almost like when you come back from combat, you get debriefed, and I know everybody's watched TV. It's real. You gotta get debriefed. You gotta be ready for the real world out here. Working in regular jobs, it goes back to your last question: structure.
Yeah.
It just I like to make sure things move slowly, and I finally got into. I worked a lot of jobs when I got out of the Army.
Yeah.
I sold furniture. I drove vehicles. I did a lot of things. When I got into bail bonding and fugitive recovery, I found something that the courts were in control of, and there was good structure, and it's really black and white, what's right and what's wrong, and I enjoyed that.
Now, as far as the black and white, you specifically having a set job, that's the only thing that you need to do. You need to apprehend this person and bring them in. But was that kind of like liberating almost to, just, this is my job. I don't have to know the whole backstory.
That's important. When you're doing this job, you're talking to people, and they tell you, "Well, you don't know what that guy's went through. You don't realize what he's gone through. He lived hard," and that all may be 100% true, but that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If you missed court and I have to come and get you, I have to come and get you, and I've got to take you back to the jail you're supposed to be in, and you need to go back in front of the court you're supposed to go in front of. It's really that simple. It may not be black and white to everyone involved, but as far as me, getting you back to the jurisdiction, that is absolutely black and white.
Now, there is another piece that I was wondering about, as far as like dealing with, you know, violent crime investigations. Like, how does that impact you?
That impacts everyone differently. I've been very lucky. As you spoke earlier, you mentioned the forward of my book. My family, my dad's brother were state troopers. They're Vietnam veterans, both of them. Being in the
From West
military,
Virginia too?
all from West Virginia, all troopers here in southern West
Yeah.
Virginia. So I grew up in law enforcement, and I grew up seeing the dark side, the things that most people didn't get to see.
Right.
Um, I guess for me, the way it's impacted me is I found a way to look at the bright side of everything. Now, there's not a bright side to everything, but there's certainly some sort of brighter side of
Yeah.
everything. And I try that. And I think you'd be a miserable person if you let it bring you down. And I know people that have done this for many years that it's really brought down, and they have a bad outlook on society. I don't. I see the bright side of it all.
Now, when you were going back to your service, you were working with people from all over the country, within your unit and everything. How was it being the West Virginia boy?
That's a great question. I know everybody's seen movies, and
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
seen the
yeah,
military movies, but there's a lot of truth to it.
yeah.
When you first join, is the shock. But the drill sergeants and the ones in charge, they do expect more of you in areas. They really do. And I guess where they see the pattern, they expect us to shoot better.
Hmm.
They just expect certain things out of us.
So what you're saying is sometimes stereotype is actually based on real world examples.
Absolutely. And I was in the Army with some other folks from West Virginia that were more stereotypical than me. I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly where they came from looking back, but yeah, I think it's based on a little something. Well, we can shoot better. That's a fact.
Now, oh yeah, I love this one. So
I'm sorry, this pollen is.
yeah,
My allergies are just killing me today.
I'm allergic to tree pollen.
I'm allergic to a little everything. So
So, quick question. Actually, no, it's an important question that I wanted to ask. Your success as an investigator, diving into people's social medias, like what should people gather from that?
well, that's a two-sided question. I want to tell you why. For people like me that are looking for folks, Facebook changed the world. It absolutely changed the world. For instance, I remember the first time I used it. Facebook was around a long time before I tried to fight it. I
Yeah.
fought against it. And one of the girls that worked the company I worked for, I was actually looking to repossess a Jeep.
Okay.
And I'd been repossessed. If you're a fugitive recovery agent, count on banks calling you, because if you can find people, you can also find their assets. So that's just how it works. I was looking for a Jeep, and the girl at my office said, "Hey, I've got that guy on my Facebook." And I said, "Well, I don't care about his Facebook. I'm looking for his Jeep." And she pulls up his Facebook, and it's been some years ago. His Facebook profile picture was a picture of his Jeep. His last post was, "Hey, got a new job tomorrow at Lowe's, start at noon." And I thought, maybe I need to get one of these Facebooks. So from this side of it, fugitive recovery, Facebook has been an amazing asset for me. And we can talk about the wanted posters if you want
Yeah,
after.
that's fine.
But on the other side, if you're a bad guy and you're wanted by the police or they're looking for your Jeep,
Right.
why do you put that on? And it's been that way for years. They still do it. I'll be looking for someone for 2 months, and somebody will call the hotline and say, "Hey, so and so just put on Facebook that they're at Walmart," and there it is. It's game over.
Yeah, I mean, that just kind of blows my mind, but in the same respect, I'm not surprised.
It's baffling. I once arrested a guy wearing a Superman outfit. He got it at Goodwill, and he was wearing a Superman outfit walking around town. And there's a lot of people walking around town, but
Yeah.
you recognize this. Somebody called me and said, "Hey, your guy's walking down this street." I said, "What's he wearing?" Can't miss him. And he's wearing a Superman outfit. When I arrested him, I'm like, "Dude, why would you're wanted by the police. Why would you wear this Superman outfit?"
I mean, that goes right back into a belief that I have as far as social media, that our society has a hero worship complex, and that we worship these people that are influencers, and everybody wants to be an influencer, and to get there they have to post everything about their life on social media. I'm not a big social media person. I truthfully, the only reason I have a Facebook is because after we had our daughter, my wife was like, "Hey, we need to keep put pictures and everything for the family to see and everything. This is just an easy way to do that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then it was a good way for me to keep in contact with my friends, from wherever. But oh my gosh, like Instagram and TikTok and all those. It's just that we've become a society that is obsessed with.
It's too much.
It is.
Sometimes
It
it's just
is.
too much. I don't have all of them. I do Facebook, and I have a couple of the other that I don't even use. Probably can't even sign into,
Yeah.
but I do use Facebook a lot. I use Facebook to my advantage. It's been a big part of my success.
Yeah.
I owe them that. The wanted posters alone. When someone is wanted, so there's times that I've posted a wanted poster, and in 15 minutes got the call that led to their arrest.
That.
You can't compare that to anything. The FBI's been doing wanted posters at post offices for many years in order to get it out there. People come to the post office. Facebook is just the next step in that. It's that simple.
Now, moving on. What are you hoping that your readers get from your book?
Well, that's a really great question. I hope that what we talked about earlier, I hope they can find a way to laugh at terrible things. And also, a lot of my reviews on Amazon had some really good things that it didn't occur to me. I'm getting a lot of feedback that it made people think that their life isn't as bad as they thought it was.
Yeah.
It really, and that's a plus. If you can read something and think, I've got a lot of problems, but they're insignificant compared to some of these people's problems, and maybe there's that.
Now, this is a good one. Okay, so, and I noticed this going through your stories, and I don't know if you would really meant to do this or not, but this is what I got from it: is you had highlighted in several instances the friends and the family of these fugitives that are just regular good people, and they're just trying to do right, but because they're emotionally invested into the fugitive, their view is a little skewed. And so, that it was there a reason that you were trying to highlight the fact of that you're trying to highlight that fact?
I highlighted that. I didn't do it on purpose, but after I started reading and editing, I seen that myself, and I think it's important for people to understand that there's every family's got a black sheep, but
Right.
it makes everyone look bad. And if I post it, for instance, if I post a wanted poster for you on Facebook, and I look, this guy skipped court, I need to find him, and your sister gets on there and says, you don't know anything about him, and he didn't get a notice for that court in the mail. That's all fine. That's all fine, but you still have to come back. And when you're out knocking on doors, it gets violent. I mean, you'll get death threats.
Yeah.
Just looking for someone you're clearly in the right doing this job, but I just hate to see it. And I guess my message would be, if you've got somebody in your family who's wanted and they're being sought by the police officer, you don't have to call and turn them in. But it is not the police's fault for coming to your house. It is not the bail bondsman's fault for coming to your house. And that's a nationwide problem of accountability. Lay the accountability where it is. I wouldn't be at your house had he done what he was supposed to do.
Right. So here's a good one. From working all over the country and the world, what do you find different about the people in West Virginia? And I'm not just talking about fugitives, though we can definitely gear towards that too. You can talk about both, but the people in West Virginia versus the people are in the country and the world, because you've been a globetrotter.
Absolutely. And when you meet someone, I was in Korea once I was in Seoul and ran into someone from West Virginia.
Okay.
And you get to talking, and I think the biggest difference is there a word, colloquialism? Is that a word?
That is a word. That is a word.
When I say
I
that,
don't know if you're using it right, because
I'm probably
I
not
forget.
using it right. West Virginia, the people not only are just proud people and proud to be from here, but they're different. West Virginia, I have found, is almost like its own little country. I mean, I can talk to someone. I've been here my whole life, so when someone calls me on the phone, I know if they're from Mingo County. I know if they're from McDowell County. Uh, they just talk differently and they act differently. But I tell you, we're more responsible for our actions here. This job has led me all over the Carolinas. I've been to Florida. I've been to Georgia. Um, and when we were talking a while ago about family members, doing what they do, it's not as bad here as it is when you get out of this area. The people here, they do care and they do want to do the right thing.
uh, Abstanding from the guy in the wheelchair.
Well, our listeners today haven't read that story, but I highly recommend that they do.
I think that was the first one.
It's the first. It's the first story in my first book, and it's the only time I ever took my mother with me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it was
but
a
man,
very great story.
that was yeah. In the book, if you want the backstory, that first story is just it's a hoot. It's a hoot talking about the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah, and I still don't have an answer. That's an open-end story that has no answers.
I do like his girlfriend's response. Yeah, he does that.
He just does that sometimes. I mean, imagine a guy struggling with beer on his case of beer on his, struggling down a terrible road. It would have been so much easier to walk.
Yeah.
And the struggle, and then he didn't need that at all. It just didn't make any sense. But I have learned, you can't put yourselves in these people's heads. You can look for someone and you can think, well, they'd never go back there. Well, a lot of times that's exactly where they are.
Yeah, that's that's a common theme in crime stories too. Is they never go back there. They always revisit the scene of the crime.
It is. Sometimes it's baffling. I can't get my head around it. We could search a house 3 times and just completely overturn the furniture and everything looking, and well, they'll never go back there. And the next day, somebody will call and say, "Hey, they're there." It just you can't put yourself in their minds. You just can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things that I think emotional investment is a big proponent of that.
That and a lot of people. I mean, and I'm not talking about just criminals. A lot of us, we don't go a lot of places. We only got a certain circle.
Yeah, we've all got a stomping ground.
And when you're wanted, your circle tightens.
Right, because those are the areas that you know.
Right.
So you think that you're most safe in the area that you know when that's the place you're least.
Absolutely.
So do you find a difference in the crime patterns in West Virginia, or is it more chaotic than that?
I don't know if I see a difference in patterns here as opposed to other states, you mean?
Yeah.
Not until you get into a bigger city.
Okay.
I see different patterns out here in the rural areas as I do in Charleston.
Okay.
Or when you get into the Carolinas, you see kind of the same thing you see in West Virginia till you get into Charlotte. And then there's definitely a seasonal crime pattern, and anyone law enforcement will tell you.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely. I didn't know it my whole life and my dad always told me that there was a seasonal crime pattern. But when I got into this 20 years ago, picked it up pretty quickly. In the summertime, you don't have as many domestic violence, not near as much as in the winters. In the winter, I think, and I've read a little about it, people are stuck at home more. They're stranded inside more. They tend to fight more.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why during COVID the domestic violence rate went down.
It's exactly the reason. Yeah, it's exactly the reason. And then, of course, come tax time, you get a lot of craziness going on out there. When people get their money, they go out and they get drunk, or they buy a motorcycle and wreck it. There's always a lot of stuff going on tax time.
That's one of the reasons why it's the best time to buy a car and TV.
It is
because all the retailers know that's when people have extra cash in their pocket and they're looking to spend it.
And shoplifting is insane around the holidays. I wouldn't be afraid to say in some places tenfold.
Really?
And also the bad checks and the forgery. That's all around. That's It hones around the holidays. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean that made that's unfortunate, but it also makes sense.
and it's also it depends on what day it is, and you can think that the full moon thing is a farce. It's not. It's real. Any police officer will tell you full moons are real. I don't know why, but
Oh,
it's real.
well, I mean, you talk to any medical doctor
Any
about
medical
pregnant, about
doctor.
well, not pregnancy, about delivery. You know, it's there are more deliveries around the full moon, and
And the first through the fifth of the month, when a lot of people who tend to commit crimes, they get their government assistance and their checks, and that's when they're out. Now, if the first through the fifth falls over a weekend, it's worse. If it falls over a holiday weekend, it's even worse.
that's
You can
interesting.
you can count on when the first falls on a Friday and Monday's a holiday. You can count on it being a busy weekend.
Oh man, I used to work at Oliverios up in Clarksburg. I was a host up there, and between the first and the fifth, especially if it fell on a weekend, we were packed.
It's the
We
same
were,
with crime. The people that come out to your restaurant are one group of people, and the people committing crimes are another. But it's the same.
yeah, that's crazy. Oh, this is a good one. So going back to the crime patterns and everything, do you find that there is a correlation of certain types of crimes that are connected with poverty?
Absolutely. Yeah, you learn that quickly in this business. Um, like we was talking about the first through the fifth of the month. That's when they have their money,
Yeah,
and they'll be okay. Some of them, now some people, there's whole different groups of criminals.
yeah,
Some of them they use that money semi wisely, and they get through and come toward the end of the month. That's when they're out shoplifting,
right.
and that's when they're out and they're stuck at home and domestic. They're fighting again because they're stuck at home. Don't have any money to go anywhere. But I also like to say that some of this is brought on themselves, not all of it. When you say something like that these days, you got to be careful. People get angry. But I personally know this to be a fact. I know people personally that I've dealt with for many years that get enough money to live okay how they're living. They could pay their rent, they could get their groceries for the month, they could make it on but they choose not to. They choose the first through the fifth to get drunk or get high,
Yeah,
and they choose to be broke the rest of the month. So some of it's brought on. Now, when I say brought on themselves, there's a whole lot to that. We need a lot of, first of all, parenting is terrible anymore, and we also need programs to help these people. Some addictions are real.
yeah. Addictions are real, and I
It's hard for someone to work, and this is law enforcement wide. Um, it's hard to feel sorry for someone, even if you need to feel sorry for them, because the first thing you see is what they're doing, and you're not seeing why. And it's important to understand why. And we certainly could use a lot of programs to get ahead of some of the problems we're talking about. We're lacking there.
now I'm gonna blindside you.
Sure.
Have you ever watched the reality show Dog, and what do you think?
When it first came out, I watched it some. I absolutely hate the show, and it's not just me. Anyone that's been successful in this business, and I'll tell you how to tell a good bail bonds and future recovery agent from the rest. Ask them that question. If they love that show, I don't want anything to do with them. It is a terrible show, absolutely terrible. One of the things that bothers me is what you're watching on TV. Here's what
Yeah.
you see: knock on the door. Hey, I'm looking for Luke. I'm looking for him. Got a warrant for him. And they say, oh well, yeah, I can take you right to him. Well, if I traveled with a camera crew and a spotlight and some waivers saying you were going to be on television,
Yeah,
but let me tell you something. If they all come to West Virginia, those waivers and those spotlights wouldn't mean a thing. Because these people here, they're not going to tell unless they're going to tell if they're going to. That's not going to influence them.
now there that is a good question though. Do you find that there is a almost a well-founded loyalty for West Virginians.
I have found, especially since COVID, there's absolutely a loyalty, and it changes neighborhood to neighborhood. And I've found rewards, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I can offer a $100 reward for someone in certain areas, and the phone will ring off the hook. And they absolutely want that $100. That's why they're calling. Don't tell them it was me, but I want that $100. I've offered $2,500 rewards in some areas and talked to people who knew where they were and refused to tell me or take the money. I don't want your money. I'm not telling you.
That's interesting, but I can see that.
It is, and I'll tell you too, the loyalty to drug dealers. $2,500 is nothing because they can't. Well, we just can't have that guy in jail. We need him. They won't tell him.
Oh man.
It's crazy.
Now, that is an interesting point that I wanted to hit on, as far as the drugs in West Virginia versus other states. How prevalent do you think it is, or do you think it's per capita about the same?
From what I see, from my view and my experience, when the drug problems, when new things come out like oxy and when meth, when it starts happening, it was way worse here, especially in the poorer parts of the state. It was way worse here, but it was just worse here first. It spread. I remember I had a friend come visit me from Nashville, a guy I was in combat with, and he went to work with me for a few days, and oxy was a terrible problem in West Virginia. And he said, "What's oxy?" So we're still doing Percocets down in Nashville. So, and that's true. It hits here first, and then it spreads. But I think since post COVID, it's pretty much the same in all rural areas.
I don't know what it is about me, but like every time that they put me on anything like Percocet or any of those, I must be just like super sensitive because I hate it. I just hate it.
I am super sensitive. I don't take anything. I don't like to take ibuprofens unless I really need it.
Well, I mean, my aunt, she kind of got me on this, and I kind of found her to be right. Of if it hurts a little, it's fine because when it hurts a lot, I don't want to have to take a lot for it to help.
That's a fact, and I think that's where a lot of addiction starts. And I found a correlation with my allergies. I'm allergic to a little of everything,
Hmm.
and I think medications hit me harder, and probably for the same reasons. So
Right.
I try to stay away from it.
Well, that was all of my questions. I think I hit everything. Yeah. So I guess we'll move on to the next part, the geek outs.
Yeah,
I'll go first. The geek outs. I don't know if you've seen the other podcast episodes, but the geek outs are basically the things that we're currently like watching or toys or video games or something that we're like really excited about. For me, I am super excited for my daughter. She got accepted into the listeners may or may not know about the Governor's Arts Academy.
fantastic program.
A fantastic program. What it is they go to it's a 3 week summer program, and they do different art disciplines. Not each year, they have different programs they go to different college campuses all over the state. And this year they're at Wesleyan, and my daughter, she got accepted to both the studio art discipline and the writing discipline. And
That's double. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, and she now she has to choose which one she's got to do.
And
Um,
it's a good choice to have to make.
so the thing that I'm definitely geeking out about that, but also the fact that something like the arts in West Virginia is is sought as important or seen as important at the state level. And I think that that's really important that that our state nurtures the arts, because there's just so much culture here. There's so much There's so many, inspirations here. I mean, look at this background.
There's
Yeah,
more culture here than the average citizen knows. I'm finding there's so much talent.
right, right. I mean, shoot, yeah, show them your shirt. Yeah, he did this, and I love it. It's the Mothman in front of Tudor's Biscuit World.
I,
I just love that.
I did a couple of Tudors and Mothman pieces. We just finished an art show in Beckley, and I'm just continually blown away by
Hmm.
the artists that we find, and that I just it's crazy.
Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful artwork here everywhere you go.
I t-
Musicians, same way.
I do tell you what though. When I was down in oh, it was like Charleston area, and there was a Tudor's that was standalone, not in a gas station, and I
Right.
just I just geeked out. I was like, oh my gosh,
We have
it's a
those all around Beckley. Yeah, we have.
yeah, yeah, man. I love a good I'm a Duke boy. I like the Duke.
Yeah, I'm a Ron guy.
Oh, okay, okay,
I'm a Ron.
yeah.
Well, I guess if I'm geeking out over anything right now, I feel like a kid about it. But Guy Ritchie has a new movie out, The
Really?
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I've watched the trailer 3 or 4 times. I can't wait to see it. But where I'm running for magistrate in Raleigh County, my days and my time is just there's an event every day. There's something going on. I haven't got a chance to go see it, so I'm living off the trailer once a day.
Man, I tell you what, Guy Ritchie, some great movies from him.
Oh, he's top shelf.
Yeah, he is top shelf. Though, didn't he do Aladdin? Didn't for Disney?
I am unaware if he did that.
Yeah,
I don't
because he
know.
he did Snatch and Lock,
Lock,
Stock.
Stock, Two
Yeah,
Smoking
I'm
Barrels.
pretty sure that he did Aladdin, and that was not good. Um,
I,
but
I had I had read it wasn't good, but I didn't know he was in on that.
um,
That's a big takeaway from what he does, though. It's a
yeah,
big
yeah.
separatism there.
I mean, as much as I like the what was it oh, I forget the name of the movie, but it was the King Arthur one. He did that one, and it had its moments. It kind of fell by the wayside, but he had some actually good actors in there. I mean, Jude Law was in
Jude
it.
Law. He just did a Netflix series too, and
Really?
I watched it. The name of it is escaping me, but I was addicted to it. I watched it straight through. Listeners can look it up. It's there's only I think it's the only series he's ever done, but it was top end.
I'll try
A
to.
lot of the same actors. Remember
Yeah,
Big Chris from the other? He's in
yeah,
it. He's
yeah,
quite older now, but he's in it.
yeah.
Hey, before we go though, I
Oh,
brought you
okay.
a few things.
Yeah, okay.
One thing we certainly have in common,
Yeah,
lots of
okay.
things, but is we're West Virginia boys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For sure. So I brought you some West Virginia stuff. Oh, first of all, I brought you a copy of each book,
Oh, okay.
an
Thank
actual
you.
copy because you read yours on Kindle, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, okay. So, there's a reason why I asked you to send it to me in PDF.
Okay.
So I have a browser plugin that's got AI. It's got an AI voice assistant,
Wow.
so it reads me the book. So I was listening to it while I was working.
That is fantastic.
Yeah,
I did not know that existed.
And it's free, open source, and everything. So because it uses ChatGPT as its the vocal agent or whatever.
Well, it's going to love the second book. I want to tell your listeners too. The books are a little abrasive.
Yeah,
They're not children's reading. They're abrasive, but it's an abrasive world out
yeah,
there.
yeah. No, but I mean, I think that was one of the things that I liked about your book was that it didn't shy away from the details
Right.
that were important to the story. Like the dead cat on the porch.
There's nothing more aggravating than tripping over something in the dark and realizing it's a dead cat, except realizing that it's a really dead cat. Like, if you can count the ribs,
I kept meaning to clean that up.
and people don't realize just how people live. I'm telling you.
Oh man.
I mean, that cat it was beyond rotten. It wasn't even stinking anymore. It was just, it'd been there so long. And you imagine the phases before that it had been in that house. It's just, wow. I've walked through houses where I actually watched stir the bugs up in the carpet. I mean, I've seen it happen, like Pigpen, and I've seen that in real life. I've seen that really happen.
Oh man.
One of the guys that works for me, George Euler, is a fantastic employee. But the first arrest I ever took him on, we came out of the house and we got in the car and we had the person in custody. He said, That floor was dirt. I said, you never seen a dirt floor? He said, not upstairs, I haven't. True story.
Not That's funny.
And 100% factual.
Yeah.
I brought you a couple of my art prints.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You can go to my, I've got a Facebook page, MFGV Art Studio. Now, this one, everybody will recognize from West Virginia. Yeah, everybody will recognize that guy from Camden Park. Now,
Which is also in Fallout 76. They put that in there.
Absolutely, it sure is.
Yeah.
This one, you'd have to be a Beckley person to appreciate, but I know you run into Beckley people. This is a long since gone building, Big John's. Everybody knew it.
Oh, okay.
And it's been torn down for years. And if you Google it on the internet, it's pretty much the only picture of it that comes up. So everybody's familiar with this photo. And I did a painting of that.
Thank you.
For you. These I'll leave in the bag for you. I make hot sauce.
Okay.
I brought you a couple of hot sauces. If you're not into hot sauce,
no, I'm a hot sauce guy.
Well, you're gonna love.
In fact, actually, one of the episodes of the podcast was how to garden your hot sauce.
Well,
me and my buddy Alex, who's a co-host on here, we both pretty much have gardens just for our hot sauce.
Well, I do too. Other than the vinegar and the sea salt in here, this is all locally sourced.
Now, do you ferment at all?
I do not. Not this batch.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Not these batches.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talk about, because we're not a huge fan of putting too much vinegar in there.
No,
but because I've had so many hot sauces that they're like, oh yeah, this is the greatest hot sauce ever, and I'm just like, it's vinegar. It just tastes like vinegar.
It tastes like vinegar.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like. And I brought you a beer from the Free Folk Brewery.
Oh, okay.
It's one of my favorite beers. It's down in Fayetteville.
Oh man, I love craft beers.
Well, that is one of my favorites. I mean, I can't say it's one of my favorites because there's so many good breweries. The Weathered Ground, the Free Folk. There's so many good ones.
I forget the name of it, but the one that's out of Parkersburg, I really like that one.
I don't know which one that would be.
It's like Selbach 304 or something like that.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, I've tried all of the ones that they export.
I'm not only a local guy. I would call myself a nationally local guy. When we travel, my girlfriend and I, we try to go all the places we can. We try to go to their local places.
Yeah.
I want to go to a brewery there. I want to go to a restaurant that's there. I don't want to go to Applebee's or,
Right. And I try to do that, but it really, I get restricted a little bit. My wife and daughter, they're both allergic to canola oil. And
that's a struggle.
It's a hard one, because some places I'll call and they'll be, oh yeah, we don't use it at all.
Some people don't even know.
We don't have it in any of the stuff. Some don't know, and we've called so many of them on the phone. We can tell when they don't know,
right?
Even though they're like, oh yeah, I don't think we use. You don't think? But then others, we have gotten some that are like absolutely like.
On their spot.
I try not to swear on this podcast. They do not want anybody there that's not a regular that is gonna actually ask about dietary questions or anything.
That's just what we was talking about earlier. That's just lack of motivation, and you need to know those things.
But
even if it's for one customer, you need to know it.
One place that I did call about when we were up in Pittsburgh, and this was years ago. One place, and I'm going to shout it out. One place, they were just so helpful on the phone. They knew exactly what was in everything, because they make everything from scratch, everyday noodles. If you're up in Pittsburgh,
one of my favorite towns.
Yeah, it's a fantastic town. But up in Pittsburgh, just past the Strip District, on Forbes Avenue, and there's a bunch of ramen places and everything. And I don't want to be racist at all. But when I walked in there, I knew it was good because it was filled with Asian Americans.
That's not racist. That's where you get your good food.
Yeah. So
I want Mexican food. I would like a whole bunch of Mexicans making it.
So when we go up to Pittsburgh, if I got time, if I'm there, because they have some weird mid-afternoon hours. They close for a couple hours so their staff can have dinner. before the actual dinner rush. So I think it's closed until like from like 2 to 4:30 or something like that. But man, when I'm up there and I get a chance, I go to Everyday Noodles. I love that
Well, you know,
place.
if I was a restaurant owner, and I've certainly done my share over the years of working in
Yeah,
restaurants, and you called me and I didn't know, I'd find out. I'd find out before you call you back, because that's not one meal. If you found a place that your wife and daughter can eat, you're coming back.
yeah, and
I want you to know
that's
that.
exactly what it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And you know, for those places that they are super helpful, you know, that's a I'm gonna tip really well.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So
Service is a thing of the past sometimes, I'll tell you.
yeah, but I mean, in the same respect, though, some places have gone like completely the 180, where they're like, man, we after 2020, we've got a you. It almost feels like it was back. You know, do you remember the 90s where a lot of these diners, they were like bending over backwards to
Yeah.
get your business, and I feel like maybe that because the 90s we had an economic decline, in the 90s after the financial boom of the 80s. So I feel like that we had gotten a piece of that back when we came out of 2020.
The further west I find I travel, in Vegas, Southern California, service, I don't know why, is really good out there.
And that's maybe that's
Management, maybe.
yeah, management maybe.
And I find that in West Virginia, um, if you see a problem at a restaurant, 9 out of 10 times, it's because the staff is rotating so fast
Yeah.
that they can't keep anyone properly trained.
Oh man, that is it is a problem.
But it's still a problem to the customer, though.
Yeah, it's a problem to the customer. It's a problem to the management. It's a problem to because I have some friends that own a bunch of subways, and staff turnover is such a problem for them. And they're not alone. They have other restaurant owner friends that is the continual problem right now.
I think people got used to staying home. Some people.
Yeah, yeah. Some people did get used to staying home, and some people are also kind of like, this is, there are more important things than making money, but that doesn't mean that it's not important.
Right, right.
It's, I
You
mean,
know, that's very well said. That's a good. That's a good. That's true.
yeah. I think that there's a there. Here's the thing, though. I think that people should either love what they're doing or love making money.
Either whatever motivates you to do it well.
Whatever makes it motivates you to do it well. If you can find
I'm
both, then that's the key. That is the jewel.
well. I love what I've been doing. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, with all the things that you showed me, you're kind of a West Virginia entrepreneur, which
Yeah, I also host. I host a trivia night in Beckley at Calacino's, and another a great local place. And
okay.
I try to just stick with local. They've got a great staff. I host their bike nights during the summer. All the bikes come in. Anything community oriented. We get live music in there for the bike nights, and I try to. I just try to stay on top of the community. I feel like if everybody did one thing that made the community better, it would make a change. It really would.
I mean, not to go off the beaten path too much, but not too long ago, John Oliver had a news report, and he was talking about if you want things to change, do what you can do and do it at the local level first.
Absolutely
And
do it at the
so
local level.
after I did that, I joined the building and zoning committee because I'm in IT, and the biggest thing that I had seen, prevalent all over the country is, areas that are advantageous that tech companies come in and just like take advantage of the local government because they don't know.
They don't.
They
Yep.
don't know, and I do.
So many city governments could take that advice.
Yeah.
City governments going out of state to use their parking meter apps. There's somebody here that can do that.
Yeah. So when I joined the building and zoning, that was my idea. Was I was going to be the advice of for IT and everything like that. And that's happened a couple times, but I ended up suggesting some very make sense changes, in the building and zoning that
We need more of that.
that when the president retired and the vice president didn't want the job, they voted me as the president of the building and zoning.
Well,
When I wasn't even there, I wasn't at that meeting. The mayor called me and
see,
she's like, "Hey, they voted you the president. If you don't want it, you know." And I was like, "Oh, I'll try it for a
well,
while."
that shows you where common sense will take you there. But you talking about starting on the local level. I think it's been 3 years ago now, maybe more, I lose track of time. I did a thing where I had people donating me shoe boxes.
Yeah.
And we was getting donations of stuff to send to the troops in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I was just sending them to troops that were from West Virginia
Yeah.
and to their units. And it came back in ways I couldn't imagine that it came back. Like a teacher from West Virginia said, "Hey, I've got 200 kids. They'd like to write a letter to these troops." So they did. I put them in those boxes. These troops over there called the kids at school, spoke to them.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it's a big deal. Stuff you could never dream. They were mailing flags back that had been flown over combat zones. I mean, that's something that'll last. Those kids are going to remember that. They're going to remember that. And I didn't even mean for it to happen.
Well, not only that, those soldiers will also remember that too.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
As a soldier that was over there, anything that came to you was a blessing. Now I know things have changed now. I was in Desert Storm in the '90s. We didn't get as much, and the internet now has changed a lot, and they get to communicate more. But everything you get in your hand is a blessing.
I will tell you that you do also hear those stories where our corporate gets involved of certain things, like for soldiers, like the one older gentleman out of New Jersey that was burning DVDs to send to the troops, and the studios got wind of it, and they were going to shut him down.
It's ridiculous.
Well, a local legislator got involved and worked out a deal that the studio was going to sanction these DVDs that this guy was burning to send to the troops. And I was like, that is a make sense local level change that I love to see.
I like anything like that. When I was doing the troop thing, I thought, well, maybe I'll send some guys some cigars too. So I went to Tobacco Town. It's a little an outlet, a little tobacco place, a one-off place in Beaver, West Virginia, and I asked him, "Is there anything you could help me do?" He's like, "Yeah." He set out boxes on the counter and let customers donate to it, and over a weekend, I'm sending out boxes of cigars to the troops, and they're sending pictures back with them over there in their Kevlars having a cigar. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, people, and like we said, if everybody did just something, just do something.
Yeah.
If you can't do anything, go to events.
Yeah.
Go to them. Tell people about them. If you see an event on Facebook that's local, it might not be for you, share it on your social media. Let other people. Somebody sees that and goes, it makes the community a better place.
I mean, I know there's a million, people that will say that, raising awareness on social media isn't actually doing anything. Sometimes it does.
It absolutely does. I wrote for the Register Herald in Beaver, in Beckley for a while, the Register Herald newspaper.
Yeah.
And all I wrote about was local events, period. Local music, local arts, local restaurants. And you wouldn't believe the feedback I got from people that would come to those events and go to those places and say, we didn't even know about this. We saw this in the local events paper. And so it's the same on social media. The more people that know about something, the better it's going to be, of course. Like these books, like books are selling great locally. You got to get them out there for people to understand they're there.
It's like that movie, The Postman.
The Postman.
The Postman. Things are getting better. Well, the things are getting better because people actually know that they're getting better.
They know they're getting better.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, this has been RGCWV, Random Geek Culture in West Virginia. Today, I sat down with Gary Vaughan, talked with him about the book that two books that he wrote. Also saw some of the other artsy things that he does, the prints that he does, the hot sauce, and the different events, the local events that he does. And Gary, what do you got going on right now?
My big thing right now is I'm running for magistrate in Raleigh County. It's a big undertaking. But the election is May 14th. I'm doing everything I can down there. I'm just working hard. It's time for me to move forward. In my division, I'm the only candidate with experience in the criminal world or in the court system. So my shot's pretty good. It's time for me to take it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much,
thank
Gary.
you. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was fun. So if you guys like this, you can hit like, subscribe, share it, all the social media garbage that people do nowadays. But you know what? I think that it's not a terrible thing. This is what we talked about.
No, no.
So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and welcome to the end.
Thank you.